Ladies and gentlemen, if you would rise, we can rise. We're now ready for the grand entry to begin the annual United Tribes International Singing and Dancing Championships.
Warriors in the house! Here we go!
Join us in the powwow circle. Everyone invited, everyone welcome.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would rise, we can rise. We're now ready for the grand entry to begin the annual United Tribes International Singing and Dancing Championships.
Warriors in the house! Here we go!
Join us in the powwow circle. Everyone invited, everyone welcome.
Thank you. Good. Yourself, Mayor? Well, that's good. Not much.
I have a heart attack.
Seems like it.
This is one we had trouble with, right?
I think so.
Oh, sweet. I like it. Where's the pizza? Hey, where's the pizza? You didn't even know? You didn't know? Oh, that was the right now. They're calling it right now. Yeah, I can do it.
How you doing today? Good. else did you meet?
No, I didn't meet any. Like, I just.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about that.
I didn't either.
I wonder if there's an elevator right around there. I think there is. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll help you going out. Try to make up for it.
Not to give you crap. You don't. My humor is pretty good humor. So. Oh, shoot.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would rise, we can rise. We're now ready for the grand entry to begin the annual United Tribes International Singing and Dancing Championships.
Warriors in the house! Here we go!
Join us in the powwow circle. Everyone invited, everyone welcome.
Thank you.
hospital? It's like, oh yeah, our Aunt Emma. There you go. They're not leaving until close to the end of September. What happened over there? Anyway, since they've been over there, I think Mr. Evans is Evans?
In the pipeline?
Before he left, he put everything away and shook everyone's hand.
I even wrote on the sheet 440 end time, and then 10 minutes later I scratched it out and wrote 450. So in 10 minutes it went. Unfortunately, Jessica was in the room the whole time, so we couldn't avoid it. She stuck around afterwards just to clarify it. I think she wrote a decent article after the whole conversation. So, but yeah, it was. No, she had to step away. Commissioner Obey. So,
You know what Harry used to do back in the day, right?
yeah, it was
You know
interesting.
what Harry used to do back in the day? Harry used to be director of Maple. He used to tuck those girls in and like
Show you my
personally
false fight.
walk around and freaking lay them
That's
down.
ease. I was. Wow. They got ready to call home this morning. We had a leak in the basement.
Good, how are you?
Good. So the ceremony today.
I believe so.
That's good. There was a vanity in the lower bathroom in a different location. So somebody moved it part of it. Like they did last year. Then separate the deadline.
I think so. No.
We didn't do this one. Dennis, how are you? Good to see you.
What you guys having a meeting out here for?
Just
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would rise, we can rise. We're now ready for the grand entry to begin the annual United Tribes International Singing and Dancing Championships.
Warriors in the house! Here we go!
we're talking about the identifying the. Commissioner Guy? Oh.
Is that there still?
Really?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would rise, we can rise. We're now ready for the grand entry to begin the annual United Tribes International Singing and Dancing Championships.
Warriors in the house! Here we go!
He's the only one with white hair, though. Just want you guys to know. In some ways, we all know, right? President McDonald's going to join too.
Yeah.
$200 later, we now have a dry floor. So. In the utility room, and we've got. Because it sat on the high side of the floor, and unfortunately, when they replaced the furnace in the house, they put it up on green treated timbers, so at least the furnace itself, the lower and everything was dry. The water heater was in a bit of a puddle, but that was about it. So not a ton of damage. It was dripping about every one drop. Kimberly went in there for one reason or another this morning and said, "Uh-oh."
That is a smart. You're welcome.
What just happened?
How are you? Doing fine. Alrighty.
Yes.
No. No. Oh yeah. Justin wants to go to Maple.
I love that. Did you read his
He just said there's no overnights yet.
He was just getting hammered.
Commissioner Oban said he pounded my high camp this morning too, bringing the Joel in favor of any of this. Either that or he just had Dustin on the ropes, so he figured he'd keep pounding the body.
All the suspects think he sold out.
Take him.
I got a roll call all of these guys. I just don't think something was going on with randomly, I go back giving me all her licenses, drama, and this and that. And she was about to bigger and better things for us. I'm like, what are you doing? She said that she's a paralegal for some small town firm. No, she's making like 13 an hour. Downgraded over there. I'm on the bigger and better things. I figured out how is that? My season was no, there's the girls, the ladies in Maple already know her doing nothing. Because that's what she tried fronting out there, like, big paralegal, we do this and that. I guess, well, I forget which one it is. Oh, really? So you're working in? I didn't see you. Oh, but, so we're going to dance you guys in? Okay. One right after the other? I don't like it when Fort Berthold does it. Fort Berthold color guard? I don't like it when they do it. They gotta fucking do like 6 times around, and they gotta go back out, and they gotta come back in, and they gotta dance. Like, hey, just post your colors. Well, I figured that Tyler wasn't doing too well. I know she lost her house that killed her stand off her before you even started real fast. She wouldn't have lasted anyway. I don't even know her, but I know her. She was a pain in the ass, bro. I can imagine that. Look, actually, yeah?
A lot more than I thought.
Wow.
There was John, there was Corey, there was John Haas, there was another guy, and one more.
Bertram's trying to leave too.
Was that DJS position?
Yeah.
No.
But Big Haas and Hilfer don't like me. What happened there? I found out they're both Trump supporters. Big Haas don't like me because he's like, I'll take a bullet for that, man. It's just wasted ammunition. He got all red in the face, and then Hilfer's like, yeah, I'll take a shot for him. He's like, well, I know what kind of shot you'll take. It's not going to be a bullet. You're going to be putting it in your mouth. They both. Big Haas was like, Hilfer walked away. I'm like,
That happened. Hilfer looks at me the next day.
well, see, he tried to start in, and I wasn't going to have it because he reminds me of his cousin, Brad. Remember that one that was made news for luring 14-year-olds? He's got a cousin that I work with in landscaping.
How are you, fellas?
Fine, how are you?
Thanks for being here. I'm Josh. Uriah.
Preston.
Preston, nice to meet you.
Lonnie.
Lonnie, thanks for being, other than that Packers shirt, you know.
That's why I get it all the time.
Yeah, I believe it. Well, thanks for being here, guys. It's always fun to be out here, be a part of it. You guys play such beautiful music. So
Thank you.
do you guys play the powwow then too?
Well, yeah.
Same group, or do you have a different group?
Oh, we usually have a few more guys. I
Okay.
think. We're like the core. We're the ones that started it.
You're the ones who actually make the music. The other guys just follow along.
Pretty much, yeah.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Yeah. See, he tried to start, and Big Sailor warned me about him. He said, "Watch out for Sailor. He's gonna get under your skin." So I'm like, well, if he tries, I'm gonna shut it down. And that's what I did. But no, I worked with this guy in landscaping, same last name, and Hilfer knows him, Brad Hilfer. He was charged with luring 14-year-olds over online, trying to meet up with them. And he got like 2 years, and he has to register now. So
Yeah, going to Brown Cottage, half those little kids in there got to register when they turn 18. Because we have Tori Olson is sex offender management. Yeah, literally all those fuckers go over there and read their files, man. You're gonna hate them.
I'm not. Yeah, I don't know if I want to be Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, I was rocking it for a while until Frank came over, and I'm just not built to take freaking orders from a dumbass. And me and Frank never meshed since he was the case manager. Just hate him.
Next to Hilfer.
No. He's worse than Hilfer.
I don't know the guy yet, so.
He's different now that he's the actual art director. So I just did a picture. Yeah, he went from, what is it, Beers? Went to Hickory, case manager. Brown case manager. Hickory case manager.
I think this one goes live too. They do these ones live on.
Oh yeah.
I miss it somewhat just because work was only 15 minutes away. Don't miss Frank.
I'm gonna shoot for the moon once it's deep.
You already talking?
Yeah. 2 here.
Okay. Let's bring him in.
No, 3 teams. Yeah. 6. Well, I'm gonna shoot for the moon. Give me that DJ. Huh? I'm not worried about it. Because I'm security until December at least. Then I'm gonna start looking at anywhere else. I like the job though. I lost 13 pounds since I started. I clocked it about like 6 to 7 miles a day when I'm not stuck in.
Gets paid to fucking work out. You guys get to go to all the reps with everybody. I don't know why Justin hasn't been doing weight.
Dr. McDonald, good to see you. Thank you for having us.
Part of me really enjoys this new system, and part of me hates it.
How you doing, sir? Thank you.
Thanks for having us,
Yes,
Russ.
thanks for having us.
This is probably going to make me cry. Huh?
Tough day.
Yesterday was really bad. Today was a good day to be out of the house. Oh, that's so sweet. It's from Keith and Danita. I better put it away or I'll have to.
It's all right. I'm used to you throwing stuff at me.
There's actually like 4
I don't know. You
properties.
can't really complain about a 16-year-old dog.
Oh, look at that.
I mean, really.
Endeavor. Endeavor Logistics. Endeavor.
The dog is
Yeah, it's first travel ending.
yeah.
Good evening. It is August 8th, 5:15. Normally you would hear me say that we are in the Tom Baker Room to conduct the business of the City Commission, which is where we traditionally conduct that business, but we started this tradition last year after having a couple of coffees with the mayor out here, and President McDonald and I talked about what are some ways that we could promote this incredible facility, but also the longest running and largest celebration of culture and history in the state of North Dakota and its history, and that's, of course, the International Powwow, which in September will be the 48th. So we decided we would move the meetings out here and 1 month in advance to celebrate that relationship, our partnership, our heritage, and all those things that are so important. So what I'm going to do, just a little differently today, we are on the campus of the United Tribes Technical College. I would like to first call the roll.
Commissioner Aspig?
Here.
Markwart?
Here.
Oban?
Here.
Guy?
Here.
Mayor Seminary?
Here. And now I would like to turn over this portion of the meeting to President McDonald, and President McDonald is going to lead the opening ceremony and presentation of colors. And would you like us to stand now, Mr. President?
No, just wait a little bit, but I just want to say a word of welcome to everyone. In my language, how medakapi. Chante washte yuha na petu uzaparo. Mato Jojo Dakota makiaparo. Russ McDonald washicha makiaparo. Minimo kao yate mata. So I welcome all of you here today, our friends and relatives, and shake all your hands with a good heart. My Dakota name is Whistling Bear, and then my non-Dakota name is Russ McDonald. So we're pleased to have you here today, and pleased to be able to share some of our culture with you, and also some of the some information on United Tribes Technical College, as well as some of the events that are happening during that events week. So with that, I want to ask you to stand at this time. We're going to call on the Wise Spirit Singers to bring in our colors. We ask that if you have headgear on, to remove your headgear in honor of our colors and our staff and our veterans who will be bringing those colors in today. So with that, we call on our singers for an appropriate song. Just a short interpretation of those songs. The first one kind of translates to this. It's kind of hard to pull it over to English, but it says something like the entry song. It says they're all charging. They're all charging. They're all charging with the grandfather's flag. So when they say grandfather's flag, they're referring to the United States flag. So they're charging with the United States flag. The brave young men are charging with the flag. That's what that first song says. The second one, that second one they sing says that the grandfather's flag will stand. I love the grandfather's flag. The flag will stand till the end of time. So those that are fluent will kind of, I'm a little bit off there, so don't be getting mad at me out there. So,
Thank you.
So we thank our veterans and our singers for coming out today and sharing with us. If you don't mind, they also asked me to say a short prayer on our behalf. And this is one of our culture ways, and I see this happens at the city meetings as well, so really glad to see that. So if you all join me in your own way, let's say a word of prayer. Oh, we come before you in thanksgiving for this day and thanksgiving for the many blessings. We pray that you come to be with us at this time and watch over us, that you open up our hearts and minds to whatever you have for us today, that you give us direction in our meeting today, give us wisdom and how we approach our lives and how we approach being relatives to one another and friends to one another within our community. Help us to come together to do good things. Help us together to make our communities better and help us to be prosperous in moving forward. Thank you for all you're doing, for bringing everybody here to share in this event today. All my relatives.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you again for allowing us the opportunity to share a little bit about United Tribes. I want to ask for another round of applause for our veterans and for our singers for coming out and being with us today. The Native American people, and I know the non-Native people, especially here in North Dakota, we have a high respect for our veterans. And for American Indians, we have the highest enlistment and veterans rates of any other race in a nation per capita. So and we hold that title as American Indians because both our men and women serve in the service. And so we come from warrior societies, and I think we bring this forward in regard to serving in the militaries. So we'll talk a little bit about that later in regard to one of the events that's being held during the powwow. But right now I have a PowerPoint that I prepared just to give a short introduction to our group here in regard to some of the work we're doing here. And we'll go right to the next slide. And you guys might have to turn around a little bit. United Tribes Technical College is a member of the American Indian Higher Education Consortium, also known as AHEC, comprised of 37 tribal colleges and universities with more than 85 sites throughout the United States. TCUs provide access to quality higher education to over 80% of Indian country. All TCUs offer associate degree programs, 13 offer baccalaureate programs, including United Tribes, and 5 offer master degree programs. Over half of the federally recognized tribes are represented in TCU enrollments. In 2013-2014, 75% of graduates earned degrees, 23% earned certificates, and 70% of TCU students receive federal financial aid. So the federal financial aid piece is noting of the low income of our population and the low income percentages and poverty populations that we serve, and many first generation students within those populations. So there's much work that we have to do at the tribal colleges in order to serve our Native students that are wishing to obtain a degree. Next. Next slide. United Tribes was founded in 1969 as an intertribal organization, the United Tribes of North Dakota Development Corporation. United Tribes is the second tribal college established in the nation. The nonprofit corporation is chartered in the state of North Dakota by 5 North Dakota tribal nations to include the Mandan Hidatsa Rickawa Nation, Sisseton Wahpeton Oyate, Spirit Lake Tribe, Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, and Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians. Our 10-member board of directors provides governance and is comprised of the chairperson and 1 delegate who is a council person from each of those 5 North Dakota tribes. United Tribes is accredited through the Higher Learning Commission like other colleges here within our state, and 10% of our student enrollment are non-Native students. That's a question that we get all the time: do you serve, can I come to school out there? And we have open enrollment, so everyone is welcome here. Next. Our mission statement: United Tribes Technical College provides quality post-secondary education and training to enhance knowledge, diversity, and leadership for all Indigenous nations. So this point alone is that although we serve non-natives, or we are designated as a tribal college and university, so that's going to be the majority of our enrollment at all times. In fact, we're kind of mandated by some of the funds that we receive that our enrollment has to be 51% or more Native students. Next. This one here, there's a list of the academic programs we offer. This is on our website. You can see there that diploma, 4 certificate programs, 14 associate applied sciences, 4 bachelors, and then 3 of our programs and 1 certificate are offered online. So please visit our website. Next. This one here, I just got this yesterday. We just got this report, and so I kind of last minute, I was kind of dropped a slide in here, but it's a 2017 Economic Impact Report. This is from fiscal year 2016 numbers. And so I haven't presented this before, so kind of bear with me a little bit. But in regard to construction, you can see 3 columns there, 4 columns. First, one is the sector, and one is the direct dollars, one is the secondary dollars, and one is the total. And so if we look at the total numbers, we see in construction, we've done about 1.5 million in construction. We spent about 708,000 in transportation, 2.8 million in communications and public utilities. Those light bills and gas bills get pretty spendy sometimes. So retail trade, another 15 million. Finance, insurance, real estate, 3.4. Business and personal services, 1.9. Professional and social services, 4.1. Household, of course, housing, 24.8. And then other is 4.7. So you can see overall the direct dollars that United Tribes brings to the Bismarck-Mandan area within the fiscal year 2016 year is 20 million. 39 is secondary dollars that is contributed to that. And lastly is the total amount is economic impact for this area of nearly $60 million. So I thought that was important information to share with city commissioners. So, next, please. Lastly here is that, and the request to just talk a little bit about the events week. We have the Tribal Leaders Summit, and in the Tribal Leaders Summit is that one of the highlights from that, let me talk a little bit about that first. The Tribal Leaders Summit is that we have tribal leaders from throughout the nation come, but the majority of them that come to the event are from the Great Plains region, and they discuss different issues in regard to that is important for them. It's happening within their communities, and they bring that discussion to the table. So we have an attorney listening to what's happening, and then attorney drafts resolutions from that discussion that we in turn put forth to and share with the Great Plains Tribal Chairmen's Association, which is comprised of 19 tribes within the Great Plains area, and we also send it to the National Congress of American Indians. And so we send those resolutions up in hopes of them passing and also supporting some of the issues that are coming out from our area, from the discussions that we're having. And last year, I believe we had 23 resolutions passed. 19 of them went up to National Congress of American Indians because they were national in scope. So the other 4 were more localized, so those were just for local use. So I think there's, in regard to policy making, we end up being kind of a facilitator of that work to help get those issues out. And we are especially at the table in regard to education, both pre-K through 12 and post-secondary. For this year, in regard to the highlights, we have Bronson Koenig for the Ho Chunk Nation, University of Wisconsin Badger standout. He's coming up, and he's doing a couple talks with some of our students, and also he'll be at the Youth Summit, at the Youth Summit that's within the Tribal Leaders Summit, and we'll be helping to facilitate those discussions with our youth. We also have a couple of basketball camps that we're doing on Wednesday evening. And so we're really getting a lot of attention to this that we didn't really expect. But we put it out on Facebook, and I think we're over 20,000 hits now, and just on that one alone. So, so we're really looking forward to him being here. And unless he gets called up to practice or something for NBA, he's here. We've signed a contract. So
he's a Wisconsin player. That's not going to happen.
Calm down, Josh. Calm down. And then international powwow itself, of course, is one of the highlights of the event is the powwow, and they've handed out a few the posters to you. They're also on our Facebook page, and you can see the link there for that. And on there, you can see that that this is a contest powwow. There's 2 different types of powwows. One is a traditional powwow, and people just come together to dance and celebrate. And the same thing happens here in regard to a contest powwow, but they're really competing against one another. And so powwow ends up kind of being a sport, and I don't think people really realize that. And so you see a lot of pictures that are coming across the screen now, and we got a pretty good turnout here. And we can again see the veterans here are really in the front for us at all times. And they just carry a lot of weight with us in regard to their service, and so we try to honor them, and not only them but also our elders and our children. So you can see some of the champions there from last year, and who were competing, as well as the singing championships that goes on. So it gets to be a pretty big event out here. In addition to that, what happened, from what we look at the history of United Tribes, we see is that the powwow came about the same year as the school was started. And so the school's been in play now for about 48 years. This is the 48th annual powwow. So they said, let's start a school and let's have a powwow right away. And so, so that happened, and but as a result of that, other events started happening. And I'm going to go back to that main PowerPoint slide. But meanwhile, while we're getting back to that, we just want to talk about the Native veterans from World War I to be honored at the powwow. And so that's going to be happening on Sunday. And what happens is that we have a list of I think it's about 360 plus. And what we're seeing is that there's not been a complete list of this. But what happened is that during World War I, when we were not yet citizens of the United States, American Indian men went into service for the United States. And so these folks are being honored and this is the 100th year anniversary of World War I. So, so these troops are being recognized. And so we want to invite you out for the event and hopefully be able to come and attend. And we know that United Tribes is also a training ground during that time. So we don't know if those individuals were trained here or not, but we know that United Tribes was a training ground, and we think that some of them most likely received their training here. So for the most part, I think we're very proud of that. We have stories from other folks about having the education building has a real long attic area, and there's an old shooting range up there. So but I guess they used to still use that even later in the years. And so I don't know, it was missing the target, but there's kind of some bullet holes around those walls over there, that are off target a little bit. But again, I think that's going to be a great event. We're really getting a lot of interest from throughout the region. Most of these Native veterans that are being honored are from North Dakota tribes, and some like in Standing Rock, some of them are from the South Dakota side. So we're looking forward to that. Also, we had the Legends Softball Tournament. It's going to be pretty big. I think last year we had 58 teams within that event. We have the Youth Basketball Tournament, and we youth from throughout the area come in here and compete in our basketball tournament. We also have the golf tournament. Horseshoe tournament is new, but it sounds like it was old. So they had it at one time, then it kind of went away. And so, so we've had quite a bit of interest in asking us about bringing that back. So we're trying it this year to see how it plays out. Thunderbird runs have been around for a little while. Some of you know about that. Some of you runners up there with running shoes on. And, but I think that's going to be here. And again, as usual, and they have some great T-shirts designed for that. And I know back in my running days, but which has been a while ago, is that I always like to collect the T-shirts back then. So lastly is we had the hand games tournament, which is also new, and I don't think we've had that here before. And this is more of a flathead style that they compete on. It's real easy to learn, and basically just some bones that you hide, and then you one's got a mark on it, then you try to pick it. And then if you pick the wrong one, you got to give me a stick. If you pick the right one, I got to give you a stick. And it's about that simple. So, but that's for cash prizes too, and that's been the prize money for that's being provided through a grant. So overall, great cultural event. We're really looking forward to it. A lot of hard work from our staff, from our different committees, putting this work together. We really appreciate those efforts that they've been putting forth. And as we get closer, we're getting more and more excited and also kind of panicking a little bit in some cases, so calm down. We've done this before. We're going to make it happen, and we'll come together and have a good event. So we appreciate you allowing us the time to be able to share some of this. And I am open to any questions that you might have, sir.
Any questions for President McDonald? Thank you, President. Thank you for the presentation. And again, thank you for opening the doors and arms to allow us to come out here. This takes a lot of work on your staff's behalf and ours as well. And this is very important, in my opinion. In fact, let me ask the people here, is this a pretty important meeting for us to have every year in advance of the powwow? It's, the $59 million of direct and indirect impacts are important, but not nearly as important as the impact as our relationship is in making sure that it's solid and stands the test of time. And that pales in comparison to the students that are educated here, and wherever they go, they are now more engaged in their communities. They have skills and talents that they learned or refined here. And we really like it when they stay here because they came here and went to school here and fell in love with the community, and we appreciate that. We appreciate all that you do, President McDonald. Again, thank you so much for opening the doors to the commission meeting tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having your meeting here.
Thank you.
Oh, I just do we have time for a short video on the powwow? 30 seconds.
Oh, absolutely, please.
And that'll end my presentation. I apologize to the commission, but I can't stick around either. I got another meeting to go to. So.
Thank you, President.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would rise, we can rise. We're now ready for the grand entry to begin the annual United Tribes International Singing and Dancing Challenge.
On request for a new Class F1 retail alcohol license for Edmonton Brewing Company located at 401 East Main Avenue, renewal of gaming site authorization for CHI St. Alexis Health. D, consider request for approval from the Bismarck Airport for approval of a lease agreement with the State Historical Society of North Dakota for a storage building. E, consider the request from the City Attorney for the introduction of and call for a public hearing on Ordinance 6280 relating to taxi cab scope of service. F, consider request for approval from the Community Development Department for the following items. Introduction of and call for a public hearing on the following items. Ordinance 6278, a zoning ordinance text amendment related to the keeping of chickens in rural residential zoning district. Ordinance 6279, a zoning ordinance text amendment to allow a drive-in, drive-through facility for a bank in the RT residential zoning district as a special use if the property is located along an arterial roadway. Consider request from Wade French for a zoning change from the P Public Zoning District to MA Industrial Zoning District for a tract 205 of the northwest quarter section of T138 North, R80 West City Lands. Property is located along the east side of the South 26th Street between East Main Avenue, the BNSF Railroad right-of-way. Consider request from Light of Christ Catholic Schools for a zoning change from the RM30 residential and RT residential zoning districts to the conditional RT residential zoning districts for lots 1 through 6, Block 81, all of Block 88, and all of the vacated Avenue F adjacent to Blocks 81 and 88, Monson's subdivision in lots 9 through 24, Block 81, Mackenzie and Coffin's addition, St. Mary's Central High School property. I will not ask you to repeat that. Consider request from the Bismarck Motor Company Incorporated for a zoning change from the MA Industrial Zoning District to the CG Commercial Zoning District for Lot 2, Block 1, Wachters 17th Edition, and Lot 1, Block 1, Wachters 18th Edition. This property is located in South Bismarck, south of Bismarck Expressway between University Drive and South 12th Street. Consider request from the City of Bismarck for a zoning change from the R5 residential and R10 residential zoning districts to the R10 residential zoning district for Lot 1, Block 1, and Lot 6, Block 3, Sleepy Hollow Heights 2nd Edition, and Lots 9 and Auditors Lot A, Lot 10, Block 4, Sleeping Hollow Heights 5th Edition. Permission to submit an annual action plan and application to receive its Community Development Block Grant CDBG funds from HUD. Permission to submit a North Dakota Department of Commerce Home Program application for the Community Action Program and the rental rehab activities. G, consider request for approval from the Engineering Department for the following items. Consider approval of North Dakota Department of Transportation, NDDOT, cost participation and maintenance agreement for Interstate Fiber Optic Project ITS 1-094, parenthetical 186-152. Consider approval of the water main easement and sewer easement for truck mains to serve the proposed Silver Ranch addition and future developments between and beyond this proposed plat. Consider approval of an encroachment agreement and waiver for a retaining wall at Tires Plus located at 5216 Ottawa Street. Consider approval of the following related to Street Improvement District 17-517. Resolution approving plans and specifications, and resolution directing advertisement of bids and receiving bids. H, consider request for approval from the Human Resources Department of the Bismarck State College Learning Partners Agreement for the period of August 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. I consider the request for approval from the Public Works Surface Operations Department for the following items. Permission to provide a tanker of water to wash the mud off the participants after the Mess Fest 2017 event, which will help childhood cancer research on August 19, 2017, in Tatley Eagles Park. Commissioner, are you going to be in that event?
That's just a regular Tuesday at my house, so.
Permission to provide a 96-gallon garbage container to be used during the Out of the Darkness Suicide Walk at the Capitol grounds on Friday, September 8, 2017. Approve Amendment 1 to Engineering Services Agreement with Houston Engineering for the Solid Waste Operations Engineering Services. J, consider the request for approval from the Public Works Utility Operations Department for the professional contract change order 6 with Advanced Engineering A2S for the trickling filter improvement project at the wastewater treatment plant. That concludes the consent agenda. Your wishes, Commissioners.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aspig?
Yes.
Markwart?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Oban?
Yes.
Seminary?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, Commissioners. Regular agenda. Report and update from Lorraine Davis with the Native American Development Center. Good evening, Lorraine. The podium is yours.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you, Chairman and members. I'm here today to share with you about a cultural experience with North Dakota Tribal Nations event. It's being held on August 26th. It's a Saturday. It's going to be held from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the North Dakota Heritage Center and the North Dakota State Capitol grounds. And so this event was fully funded by the Bush Foundation. The Native American Development Center I had founded in September 2012. And the reason for our organization is to help Native Americans with their socioeconomic issues. And so in that, we feel that we are helping Native Americans to become and be capable of being self-determined. So working alongside with United Tribes Technical College, we're able to help the Native American adults and their families in transition and through that process so that they're streamlined and they're not left into the homeless shelters and just kind of falling through the cracks and more subject to addiction issues. And so working with them, helping them become stable within the economy, getting jobs, housing, things like that. We also provide support groups, addiction recovery support groups every week. At this time, that's part of our mentoring program. Our organization is actually in a mentoring organizational framework. Model is what we've adopted, and so we really wrap around the adults in being able to provide them the social, emotional, the cultural, and then their economic pieces so that they're really getting a wraparound type of a service. So our funding for our organization comes from the U.S. Department of Treasury and Department of Health. So, and then alongside what we do for fun is go after little grants like the Bush Foundation, Humanities Council, and things like that to do fun things. So we're really pleased to be able to hold this event. It's our way of really making an introduction to really the state, because through the U.S. Department of Treasury, we offer lending services. And not many banks are able to provide lending services to some of our Native populations because they might not have the credit score, they might be too high risk. Everything is leveled by risk. If you have some of that finance background or the experiences that we all go through and kind of learn the hard way. So we're being preventative and we're a long-term approach to becoming self-determined. So with that, we hold this event in a means of getting the word out there about what the Native American Development Center is destined here to do. And being that person coming here from the reservation, I have firsthand experience in knowing what it's like to fall through the cracks. There's nothing that catches you when you are suspended from college, because could be issues of attendance, and that could be stemming from addiction issues. It could be that you couldn't come back from a home visit on the reservation, wherever that may be, and just don't have the means to get the money to come back in time to continue your education. And so there's just systemic poverty issues that we kind of meet people where they are so that we're able to help them get to where they need to be. And that's all designed by their goals and their values. So August 26th, a cultural experience with North Dakota Tribal Nations held at the North Dakota Heritage Center Auditorium. And there will be educational panels. There will be 4 of them. And that will be the Culture and Language panel. We'll start following the opening ceremony, leading into the Tribal Government and History panel, and then following into a reconciliation panel. And I just want to elaborate a little bit on that panel, because we're not saying we're ready to reconcile by no means. I mean, I'm not saying that we're not ready or that we are ready. It's really up to, it's not for me to say. I'm just facilitating the actual cultural, competent Native Americans that are really making our nation strong. And so with the tribal leaders at the table, they speak for themselves, and we're just a platform helping them so that our Native Americans and our non-natives can come together and just understand one another in a non-threatening way. So we're not telling anybody we don't take any approach. It's really just an informal way of understanding who we are and our belief systems. And I believe by understanding the tribal government and the history, you'll get a better understanding of some of the historical trauma that we face and that research tells us is really there. So it's really genetic. We're not making something up, and it's research-based. And that's a lot of the work that we're focused on, and you'll see a lot more of that coming. So.
Thank you, Lorraine. The date again, and then is there a website or a Facebook page someone could be directed to for more information?
Yes, the website is www.ndnativecenter.org, and we're asking participants to pre-register just to make sure that we have enough seats available to accommodate everybody. So there is an evening venue, and it's a Native comedy show that I didn't get to mention, and that's from 6 to 8 p.m. also at the North Dakota Heritage Center. So we're asking participants to pre-register for both the day venue and then separately for the evening venue. So I look forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. And there's no fee for the...
Yep, it's all free.
Okay.
Day and evening venues are free.
Thank you very much, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Next item is report and update from Renee Mock with the Mayor's Gold Star Community Task Force. Good evening, Renee. Thanks again, Lorraine.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I am here to just provide a short update on our Mayor's Gold Star Community Task Force. And for those of you that are not familiar with the task force, this is Mayor Seminary's call to action to initiate a collaborative effort in the Bismarck, Mandan, and Lincoln communities to respond to behavioral health and substance abuse issues. And our task force consists of a diverse group of individuals and organizations that are looking to make a change affecting our local population regarding these issues. So we held our first meeting on June 14th. That was our kickoff meeting. We had steering committees that were identified. We presented statistics showing the need for action, and we also identified some community themes through facilitated group discussion. You can see on the handout, our steering committee was broken down into 4 separate areas of government, policymakers, law enforcement, healthcare, and then schools, organizations, and community members. Our strategic planning meeting was held on July 27th, where we were able to review, discuss, and finalize our vision and mission statements, and then also identify some priorities for the task force to be working on. And those priorities are intoxication, withdrawal management, and crisis intervention team, increased access to recovery and treatment, and then behavioral health and substance abuse education, awareness, and prevention. So from here forward, we're going to have smaller work groups that are going to get together to address those specific topics, and then come back for a large task force meeting again on October 3rd. And we hope to meet quarterly to try to make progress in resolving some of the issues. So this concludes my report. If you have additional questions, I can surely answer.
For Renee? Thank you, Renee. Appreciate it very much. Item 3, this is the public comment period. You can come and make any public comment at that podium as long as it's something on this agenda, excluding public hearings. So something on this agenda that is not a public hearing, if you'd like to use the podium to make public comment, this is your opportunity. Apparently there are no takers for that wonderful opportunity to make public comment. So we will move on to item 4. Consider the request from the Mayor's Human Relations Committee to receive the 2016-2017 annual report. Good evening, Carl.
evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Each year, we're asked to report on what the Bismarck Committee on Human Relations does. This was formed a mayoral request or ordinance to allow us to provide some availability of what's going on in our community and to act as a liaison to members of the commission and the mayor about issues that are going on in our community. Our mission is to protect and promote the personal dignity of all Bismarck citizens and eliminate any discriminatory barriers that prevent them from reaching their full potential. We do this mostly through education, and we do this through partnerships, most recently with Global Neighbors, the North Dakota Humanities Council, and we do this in a number of areas through leadership, looking at civil and human rights, principles of concerns, of objections, of anything that's going on in our community that has to do with diversity, and we want to make sure that we promote the value of diversity in our community. I'm not going to go over the full report, but I will highlight some of the things that we've done over the past year. One of those things is we've turned our Diversity University from a monthly, or from a once-a-month event into a quarterly event. And so we look to partner with a number of individuals and take on some events on our own. Our multicultural dinner that we hosted was our fourth quarter event in 2016. It was an evening in India. It was held at Legacy. And Runa Seth, who was one of the original members of this committee, designed the meal, and it was prepared by the Legacy High School culinary students. And we had a number of individuals that were in attendance on that. We were restricted by the number of plates that we could have. So this year we're looking to make it a bigger and better event. Our first quarter event was held in honor of the Black History Month, and we held that at the North Dakota Heritage Center. We showcased the movie The Butler, and then we allowed people to walk through the museum. We had about 55 people in attendance. Our second quarter Diversity University event was the band night parade, and members of the committee participated in that. Our biggest goal is to make ourselves more aware to the community. I think people are still unaware that we exist, and so we want to make ourselves more available to as many individuals as we can. In our third quarter, we held a multicultural festival at the Gateway Fashion Mall on June 18th, and we had over 500 people attend. Bismarck Police Chief Dan Donlin was there, former Human Relations Committee member Officer Clinton Fuller also attended and interacted with the public. And our fourth quarter event coming up is another cultural meal in which we're going to host, and we're going to hold that in November of 2017. We have a Human Rights Poetry and Essay Contest Award, and that was awarded to, I think for the third year, Riley from Riley Fode is her name, and she's from Horizon. And so she was presented with that for her poetry submission. We have a Human Relations Committee Humanitarian Award, and that was awarded to Lynette Horn, who's the director of the Community-Based Services for Ann Carlson. We also had a number of individuals on the committee that participated in the community conversations, which was designed to foster better community relations and involvement throughout Bismarck. Those are just a highlight of some of the things that we did, and I'd be open to address any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Carl. Any questions for Carl? Well, Carl, speaking of having ways to have the public become more aware of the work, I noticed we have a number of members of the committee here. If you would invite them to come up with you and introduce themselves, that way some people can put a face to the committee members that are doing incredible work in our community. So would you invite them up, please?
I would welcome them to come and join me at the podium. We have 7 members total, and yes, you have to stay up. So these are 4 of us who act on your behalf.
So please introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about you, or you're not going home.
Drive a hard bargain. My name is Amy Ingersoll Johnson. I have been a part of the committee for a little over a year, and it's been inspiring work, so I'm happy to be a part of it.
Hi, my name is Will Kincaid, and I've been on the committee for 2 years. And when the mayor appointed me to the committee, I didn't know how long the term was, but 3 years. So that it's, I've attended, I think, every meeting so far.
For the record, Will, we changed that at the last city commission meeting. It's forever.
Oh. I was just going to say, he didn't tell you it was the Hotel California.
I'm Rissa Williams, and I'm going to use this chance to say I'm from Minot, but I live in Bismarck, and I'm the proud squeaky wheel of the committee.
Well, thank you all for the hard work that you do. Thank you very much. Item 5, consider the request from the Budget Committee to receive a preview of the 2018 budget preparation activities. Commissioner Marker, I'm going to turn that over to you if you don't mind.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Well, the Budget Committee had met. We'll just get right to it, then we'll visit a little bit later here. The Budget Committee continues to be committed to providing recommendations that support the high quality of service that our residents have come to expect. In light of reductions in state aid, local sales tax collections, and pass-through revenue from the motor fuels tax and vehicle registration fee collections, the Budget Committee has been able to develop balanced budgets that support the quality of life our community enjoys. The Budget Committee has identified the major considerations and recommendations for the 2018 budget and will present the recommendations that reflect the citywide priorities at the August 17th Commission meeting. Employee salary and adjustment. The Budget Committee has continued its practice of addressing employee needs when first formulating our annual budget recommendations. It is only with this determination and dedication of our employees that we can continue to serve our citizens at a very high level and meet expectations. We feel our recommendations for salary policy is not only appropriate level of investment to attract new employees, but more importantly, it is the level needed to retain current employees. The Budget Committee is recommending a performance-based salary increase for employees. A 1-cent salary increase for the general fund is $225,651, and a total of $384,504 for all funds. Base budget adjustments. The 2018 base budget for the general fund is $40,405,203. This reflects the reduction in workers' compensation rates and adjustments for the employee pensions based on the 2017 accrual valuations with the current contribution rates of 10.4% for city and 14.53% for police and fire. Blue Cross Blue Shield is recommending a 8.5% increase in the health insurance premium, but based on the fund balance of the plan, the Budget Committee is not recommending an increase. The committee is recommending the addition of coverage for the preventive health care services which are designed to prevent or detect health care problems with the potential to reduce treatment costs. Sustaining our health benefits and pension plan contributions along with recommended salary policy is key in continuing our position as employer of choice. Priority initiatives. Departments have submitted priority initiatives requests for additional funding. The requests are in addition to the base budgets for the general fund and the operating budgets for all other departments. The requests include new employees, base operating increases, and one-time expenditures. The requests are as summarized as follows. The general fund is $1,342,830 with 17 FTEs, with base operating of $479,938 and one-time of $3,372,817. Total funds is $1,446,089 with 18 FTEs, with the same base as prior, and a one-time of $4,431,758. The Budget Committee is recommending funding for new FTEs and base increase that are essential to maintain the level of service in the city, to utilize cash balances to address other FTE needs and essentially one-time expenditures, essential one-time expenditures. The specific recommendations will be presented to the Commission at the August 17th meeting. Fees and charges. Departments submitted rate adjustments for fees and charges that include new fees, deleting fees, rate increases, and also the base of the fee. In addition to the changes to the current fees and charges, the Budget Committee is recommending the following. To restructure the basis used for utility rates to set base rates to cover debt and ensure all benefiting properties share in the maintenance of infrastructure and at the levels of utilization, and to phase in an increase in the 1998 cost basis used to calculate building permit fees. The details of the fees will be provided to the Commission for the August 17th meeting. Mill levy. The 2017 estimated value of the mill with TIF for the 2018 budget is $376,752 for a total increase of $16,767 or 4.66% as compared to the prior year. Of this amount, 3.56% is attributed to growth for both residential and commercial properties, which equates to the zero increase number of mills in accordance with the North Dakota Century Code 57-1502.1. The Budget Committee's recommendation is to limit the property tax increase to the 3.5% or 3.56% for growth, which provides an additional $1,244,041 in tax revenue and a mill decrease of 0.6. This recommendation is keeping with the Commission's goal to minimize the impact of property tax and reduce the mill levy. The revenue increase will fund the recommendation for general fund employee salary increase, any new FTEs, and operating base increases, with the balance of the funds directed to the building construction mill for the 5-year capital project plans. Capital improvement projects. The Budget Committee reviewed the 5-year capital improvement projects submitted by the departments and considered funding recommendations for the 2018 projects. The 2018 requests are summarized as follows. Building construction is 3.0 or 3.14425. Lodging, liquor, and food was $20,833,250. Sales tax was $10,015,032. Specials deficiency was $11,654,300. Revenue bond is $10 million. Enterprise special funds is $8,315,005. Grants and other funds is $23,570,156, with a total of $87,402,168. The Budget Committee's recommendation is to maintain the sales tax subsidy for special assessment street projects pending Commission consideration of any recommendation of the Special Assessment Task Force, which made their recommendation the other night. The committee also considered funding source for a number of requests, and the funding for those specific projects will be provided at the August 17th Commission meeting. Other budget issues. The Budget Committee considered options to address the roads and street budget given the declining revenue in the motor vehicle fees. The Budget Committee's recommendation is to continue with the 3 vacant positions, providing funding from interest reserves for equipment purchases and utilize the current cash balance for the roads and street budget. The Budget Committee considered current funding levels for the Events Center and is recommending only essential increases with a challenge to the Event Center to evaluate new business models to increase revenue and reduce costs. I would like to thank the Budget Committee for meeting with my timeline to be able to get this pushed out. With anything, it's a lot of work. Keith Hunke, Jason Tomanek, and Sheila and I had met roughly over about 6 days and countless hours, along with calls back and forth. One thing when we discuss budget is that we need to make sure that we have that level of service that our citizens expect. And we took that into heart, and it is a very serious conversation as far as going forward. I think you'll see on August 17th with our recommendations that we came out with the balanced budget and be able to work with our numbers that we had come up with.
Thank you, Commissioner Marquardt, and I would echo his appreciation to you included, Commissioner Marquardt, and the Budget and Finance Committee, Keith Hunke, Jason, and Sheila. Where's Sheila? There you are, over there. Appreciate all your hard work, as we always do. And so at this point, Commissioner Marquardt, would you entertain any questions if commissioners have some questions at this point in time?
No. No. Yes, I can entertain some questions.
Are there any questions? No. Commissioner Guy.
Well, I'd also like to thank the Budget Committee. I know that aside from the 6 rather painful days that you spend putting this all together, that you spend time throughout the year meeting at many of our facilities around the city and just doing tons of preparation prior to that 6-day slog through putting everything together. This isn't really the level of detail I was asking for when I asked for this preliminary review. I was hoping to see something more akin to what we get for our August 17th meeting. It's a nice overview, but it doesn't tell me what's getting paid for and what's not. So I don't know that this is something we want to do next year, or perhaps we plan this further ahead next year, but it's frustrating. It feels like we don't have enough time to really think hard about this budget. And as the mayor said at our last meeting, these budgets are going to get tougher and tougher as time goes by because money is just plain tighter. The demand for services never diminishes, and we continue to grow.
Very, very true. I mean, that's a honest statement as far as, you know, budgets are going to get tighter, and we need to, as a budget committee, when we receive those requests from those departments, take everything in consideration as a city as a whole. That's the biggest thing and the toughest aspect of that. As far as what do our citizens require of us to make those decisions as far as what gets funded, what doesn't get funded, and how it's funded. That's part of our my portfolio and the budget committee as far as to hash that out and to make sure that you know, what we is presented to us. If we have questions, we reach out to those department heads to get clarification on with some of the stuff with water and sewer that Michelle Closey has provided us, as far as, you know, give us the reason why this, that, or the other, as far as some different fees, or for engineering. It's you know, it's not one department versus the other. It's basically we have, as a budget committee, need to take a look at the city as a whole and what our city's needs are, and to push forward from there. I think that you know, it's a tough discussion, and there's not any recommendation that isn't warranted. It's just, what do we have money for and how can we pay for that? But we'll get into more detail, Commissioner Guy, on the 17th, but thank you for that insight. Thanks.
Keith, help me with something, and for those viewing in attendance today. So to Commissioner Guy's question, and it can be frustrating when we go through the process that we, and, you know, we could change this in a number of different ways if we wanted to as a commission. But we have our real official deep look at the budget on the 17th. How much time do we have after that meeting before we have to give it our stamp of approval and move on to the next subject?
Mayor Seminary and Commissioners, after our special meeting on August 17th, we will call for our public hearing on the budget ordinance at our first meeting in September. I believe that is September 12th. And after that, we'll hold the public hearing at our last meeting in September, which is September 26th. So there'll be time to make adjustments after our special meeting on the 17th. If those adjustments are significant, and by significant impact our mill levy estimations, some of our capital expenditures, you know, we may have to have another special meeting if we're not able to get our work done as a budget committee and balance again based on what transpires on August 17th. But there is some time for us to get some additional feedback based on details that will come to light on the 17th.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. Commissioner Ashby, you look like you wanted a question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions. First of all, thanks for your work. Thanks for the Budget Committee's work.
to Commissioner Guy's point, I guess I've done this for a few years now, not as long as others, and short of us being the budget committee as a whole, I find it really hard to fathom another way we would do this that doesn't create that situation. So food for thought. I'm not necessarily objecting to that, but just as a thought in terms of how we would do it. And I hope no one on this commission feels held back that we can't make changes next week, because I can tell you, depending upon what we see and what we read, we've had changes proposed at the table before. We've had made adjustments, albeit not major yet, but as Keith outlined, there is certainly the opportunity to do that, and if that is warranted, I certainly think we're all able to make those motions and hope they come forward. But I have a couple of questions related to your comments, Commissioner Marquardt, about level of service. So one of the things that we've discussed recently in terms of making sure we provide an adequate level of service is public transit, and I understand that we don't operate public transit and we don't run public transit. The transit board does that, but they do get a very significant amount of their funding from us. So the first question is, knowing the difficulties they had in the last year and the supposed funding shortfalls they had, did they submit any requests for an increase in funding?
It's a very good question, Commissioner Asvig. I don't, it had been a little bit of time since we had visited Sheila. I don't think that they did they?
Sheila's nodding her head no. And I'm not blaming you, but I guess my first of all, that's disappointing, given if they're concerned about funding, to not even make the ask makes me a little bit frustrated, because I'm still hearing concerns about the change in service, and it's not just related to timing is part of it. So but the second question I have is related to when you went over the mill levy stuff, and I've read through it a couple of times, and I want to make sure I understand this. So if we go above the 3.56% growth, which is the 1.2 million, or a mill levy decrease of 0.6, is there anything different we'd have to do if we just decided, you know what, for this year we'll keep the 0.6 and put it towards, I don't know, additional transit funding, or put it towards the building fund, given the likely ongoing need we're going to have, because 0.6 of a mill in terms of a reduction is a very minimal cost savings to the average homeowner in Bismarck. It's probably a penny or less, I'm going to guess, on an average bill. And so I guess I'm asking the question, was there any discussion about keeping that 0.6 and just keeping it as a flat mill levy at what we are at today for the city portion of the bill? Obviously, remember we only control about 20% of that bill. But I guess I'm asking the question of, did we decrease the mill just to say we continue to decrease the mill for whatever number of year in a row it is, or is that because we'd have to do some other processes and simply to save a little bit?
We had discussed a lot of that, as far as if we go over a certain percentage, then we need to have a vote, or it has to be published, I do believe. We left it at the -6, even though it may be minuscule. It still shows that we're trying to be as prudent with the citizens' money as we can, and be good stewards of that, even though, however minor that it may be. But like I said, when we come up with on the 17th, we'll be able to hash that through and to see what those numbers look like, Josh.
So, Mr. Mayor, following up, and Commissioner Marquardt and the Budget Committee, I guess what I'm looking for then for next week's meeting is an alternative consideration, just to evaluate and to see if that's something, and to give you a heads up on a work product you can put together is maybe a sheet saying, if we go with what is outlined as the recommendation, obviously not seeing all the detail, as Commissioner Guy mentioned, would help, but with all the detail, what the difference is in terms of process, but also potential dollars that we could put towards a building fund, given the growing building fund, the growing likely need for building updates, or towards just what that dollar amount would be and what some potential options for us to put it towards might be. in terms of that. And then also, as part of that, give me a picture, what is a 0.6 mil decrease for the average homeowner in Bismarck? Because I have a pretty good idea of what it is, but it'd be good to just know for certain to evaluate that. Because to your point about trying to keep costs, I agree, but keeping costs down and at the point of maybe saving somebody a penny with the likelihood that they'll probably get slapped with a really hefty bill in a few years when we're going to have to make some tough decisions about buildings, transit, never mind roads and all that stuff as well. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me when we can probably keep things flat in terms of a mill levy and bank some money to put towards those projects in the future.
Thank you,
Commissioner. Mayor and Commissioner Asvig, and we can get that done for you and show what that looks like. You know, with this budget process, and we'll go into more detail on it on the 17th, but there's some different ideas as far as going forward with how some of the stuff is funded, what maybe just some different business practices going forward that we can help alleviate some of the issues down the road. Not saying that we'll be able to push it 5 or 6 years down the road, but I think there's some different ideas and some stuff that was brought forward during this budget process that is unique and that we haven't seen before that will help the city of Bismarck moving forward, just different thoughts and ideas. But like I said, we'll get into that more on the 17th, but we'll get something prepared as far as flat or what those may look like. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners. Other questions? Commissioner Guy?
Thank you. When will we receive the background information for the meeting on the 17th?
Keith, do you have an idea roughly when we'll send that out? I'm sorry, Commissioner Guy. Basically, what we need to do is we'll get a visit with the department heads, and then we'll get that shipped out. But as far as the time frame, Mr. Hunke.
Mayor and Commissioners, Commissioner Guy, our intent would be to get that out to you as soon as possible. We're waiting for the outcome of tonight's discussion to see if there is any significant requests, and I know Sheila was tying down some numbers, and we should be able to do that in short order. Our process would be to send that information to you, and then also Mr. Tomanek and I would follow up with face-to-face meetings with department directors and share with them the budget committee recommendations during that same time.
So they haven't heard those yet?
No, they haven't.
So it'll be before the morning of the 17th?
Mayor Seminary, yes, it would be well before the morning of the 17th.
Like this week, though, right?
We'll do our best to do it as fast as we can.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Appreciate everyone's help, and just to, kind of a 30,000-foot view. Back to Commissioner Asvig's point, we could elect to change how we do this. We could be the budget committee, and I entertained that when I became mayor. Should we change that? And as I sat down with then Bill Wolken and Keith Hunke, to me it sounded like the current process is far more efficient than that particular option. Some cities, it's the mayor that does it, and he presents or she presents the budget at one of the first available commission meetings. I felt that the way we've been doing this seems to work really well. And I think one of the reasons we get, and this is absolutely the right concern to have, as our city grows and as the budgets and requests become more demanding and new requests surface, we end up asking these kind of questions with more frequency, and I suspect that will continue to be the standard operating procedure. But I would caution us to also consider this. I don't want us to be like other boards that complain about reduced funding for our stuff from the federal government or the state. This is our stuff. I've been saying this since 2008. These are our roads, these are our people, this is our infrastructure. Eventually, we're going to have to figure out how we're going to have to pay for more of it. And that time has been coming for a while, and it's really here now. That's not going to change anytime soon. I think we all agree that that's not going to change. So we may have to go through different priority processes, but keep in mind that almost every property tax dollar we collect goes to pay for our cops, our fire and emergency communications. That pretty accurate, Keith? Almost every dollar we collect. So it's then fees or other sources of revenue that we generate that pays for everything else. And we greatly, greatly value this level of service that citizens have come to expect because of the delivery that's been in place for so long. So I suspect we'll have discussions about should we be funding this, should we be funding something less. But I don't know that changing how we do this necessarily will accommodate any more degrees of efficiency. What we may have to do is, in advance of a meeting like this, for example, have far more contact with the Budget Review and Finance Committee, have more contact with department heads, and get some advance intelligence so that we personally have more comfort level going into the budgetary process. We have a very defined length of time for all practical purposes where we have to eventually submit our budget and we move on. I think trying to advance the timeline going backwards isn't necessarily productive because the very people that are currently engaged in the process are also engaged in the infrastructure task force, the special assessment task force, all the other task force that we decide to put in front of them, and that probably won't go away anytime soon because of the way our community continues to grow and the needs change and reflect the current times that we're in. So for the record, I'm very comfortable for the most part how we do this. I'm glad that we took your direction, Commissioner Guy, and did this tonight because it now gives us a little bit better heads up in advance of that meeting on the 17th. And if we can get that information delivered as quickly as possible, that'll help all of us. So any other questions or comments about the budget process? Commissioner Marquardt?
Mayor and Commissioners, and one thing that, we as a budget committee need to, just let you guys know, as far as trying to push it up a time frame, there's some numbers that we get from the state that, even came in while we're doing the budget process. So as far as to try and get ahead of it a little bit farther is a little bit difficult as far as what some of those numbers, but I do appreciate the attempt to try and do that, but sometimes we're just held by the information that we get. So some of the information that we would provide you wouldn't be accurate. So we kind of wait till the very end to get those numbers and to push them out, and it creates a very busy week for the budget committee to get those numbers handled. So I do appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Oban.
I feel like I want to weigh in here. Last year, being it was my very first time through the process, I think Commissioner had once described the first year or the first 6 months on the commission like drinking out of a fire hose. There's a lot coming at you and trying to interpret everything. So I'm excited to go through the process this year, maybe a little bit with clearer eyes on how this is going to work, but also with eyes that am willing to look at the system to make sure that it is something that I would be comfortable with. I would ask if, we talk about the system and how it works for us. I'm wondering if we've asked department heads how it works for them. Has that been asked?
Mayor Seminary, Commissioners, Commissioner Oban, no, not a direct face-to-face ask recently as to, what their thoughts are regarding our budget preparation process. Have not done that.
Because I'm just thinking that as a system, and we're all a part of this system working together, that it might be a good question to ask if they feel like, the information that you're going to provide to them tomorrow or the next day or whenever you're going to meet with them, as quickly as possible, my understanding, if they have enough time to be able to chat with the folks that they need to chat with, and interpret what that decision or what that recommendation is going to mean for them. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Oban. We can get that done then? Thank you, Mr. Hunke. Anything else before we move on? Item 6, consider the request from the Vision Fund Committee regarding a PACE program interest buy-down for Two-Track Malting LLC. Nathan.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. You have before you, my name is Nathan Schneider. I'm the Director of Business Development for the Bismarck-Mandan Development Association. You have before you a request for funding from the Bismarck Vision Fund in the amount of $1,830 to be used as the local match of the Bank of North Dakota's Flex PACE program from Two-Track Malting. So just a little background on this. We've already funded one round when they initially started. That was back in beginning of 2016 in the amount of $11,890. That was also the local match of the PACE program, the Bank of North Dakota's PACE program. That was for the initial startup of operations. This is for an expansion to essentially double their capacity out there for malting barley from their home farm near Goodrich. Just a refresher on the PACE and the Bank of North Dakota's PACE and Flex PACE program, just because it's been some time since these have made the regular agenda. The Bank of North Dakota has the Flex PACE and PACE program. PACE is an acronym, Partnerships and Assisting Community Expansions. Essentially what it is a program that buys down the interest rates on notes to companies. So in this case, the project worked through a lead bank, First Western Bank here in town. They applied through the Bank of North Dakota and then through the Bismarck Vision Fund. So what happens is the Bank of North Dakota provides a portion. In this case, in Bismarck's case, it's 65%. They provide a portion of the interest buy down, and then the community is required to provide the other 35%. So in this case, the $1,890, which is why it's somewhat minimal. And so all told, with the local match and with Bank of North Dakota, Bank of North Dakota's portion, it's somewhere north of $5,300 that they're getting in cost savings and interest cost savings through the life of their loan, which is 48 months. The Bismarck Vision Fund Committee recommended approval. There is a representative from the company here if you want to ask any questions about the project itself, or if you have any questions on the request, I can try to answer any questions.
Thank you, Nathan. Any questions for Nathan? Commissioner Asvig?
So the plant's located in Lincoln?
Mayor Seminary, Commissioners, Commissioner Asvig, yes, the physical plant is located, so it would be northeast of Lincoln in those kind of newer shop condos up there. When we originally did the deal, that was a point of discussion at the Bismarck Vision Fund Committee, and what was decided on was they actually utilize Bismarck City services, so they utilize Bismarck City water out there, and they also employ Bismarck City residents. And so the Vision Fund felt like that was enough to help fund the project.
So if I read the application correctly, they currently have one part-time employee?
I can ask if you want to answer the question.
Good evening. I'm Jared Stober. I'm with Two-Track Malting. Yes, right now we do employ one part-timer. There's 3 of us owners that are also working full-time with the business, so we technically have 4 people at the plant that are making malt and shipping it across the country.
How many of the 4 of you reside in Bismarck?
We have 2. One lives in Lincoln, and then one is living on the farm where we're producing or growing the grain. So then they bring it up every week, and we turn it into malt and give it to brewers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Stober, do you have finished product here today?
Well, not here,
Sorry,
but if you'd go to Laughing Sun or Buffalo Commons, you can have a pint.
Thank you. Commissioner Guy, you had a question?
Is the buy down in the form of a grant or a loan?
Mayor Seminary, Commissioners, Commissioner Guy, that's a good question because if you remember, we had come to the City Commission with some bylaws changes to the Vision Fund where the buy down, the local portion of the buy down would now be in the form of a loan and or grant. The Vision Fund and or the City Commission would have discretion on what they wanted to provide. The Vision Fund felt like since this was such a small amount and it wouldn't be worth servicing, and we had also, like I said previously, provided them with the local match of the PACE buy down in the form of a grant before the bylaws were changed, that they were gonna stick with the grant in the form of a grant. So it is, to answer your question, it is in the form of a grant.
So the B&D portion is also a grant?
Mayor, Seminary, Commissioners, Commissioner Guy, correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Nathan. Wishes of the commission? Oh, this is a public hearing, is it? No, it's just a request. Wishes of the commission?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second? Motion to approve. Is there a second? Last call for motion to approve. Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. We'll move on to item 7. This is a public hearing and the approval and confirmation of the spring 2017 health and safety assessments. If you would like to address that, this is a public hearing on the approval and confirmation of the spring 2017 health and safety assessments. Last call for the public hearing. Hearing and seeing none. Wishes of the commission will close the public hearing.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion or questions? Hearing and seeing none. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aspig?
Yes.
Markwart?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Oban?
Yes.
Mayor Seminary?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, Commissioners. Item 8, we will have it addressed, but we also have a continuation, is my understanding, because we noticed the public hearing at the location in the Tom Baker, and to make sure that all residents have equal opportunity to do so, we will also continue the public hearing. We'll hear it tonight, but continue the public hearing at the next commission meeting. So, consider request approval from the engineering department for the following. Receive and accept the proposed stormwater design standards manual update and consider the request for approval from the community development department for the following. A public hearing on Title 14.1 stormwater management zoning ordinance text amendment. Good evening, Gabe.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm here to present the final stormwater design standards manual update. I won't have a presentation per se, just more so an overview of the process again, as well as highlight some of the changes that have transpired since we last spoke on this in May. The main goal of this revision is to clearly define the city stormwater management requirements, which would result in an efficient development process while protecting the citizens' investment in existing infrastructure. At our commission meeting in May 9th of 2017, a draft of the Stormwater Design Standards Manual, as well as the 14.1 language for ordinance, was presented for a review. Since that time, we've received some public input on some of the concepts within the Stormwater Design Standards Manual that we have refined to a certain degree. Specifically, we had a requirement requiring a stabilized construction access into, or I guess before any vehicle would leave a construction site. We've, I guess, relented on that mandatory requirement, hearing input from our stakeholders in the community. We're now proposing that or other approved best management processes or practices that can be approved by the city engineer. And one of those practices could be avoidance. So if it's raining and it's a muddy site, you could just not go on the site, and we would find that acceptable. But after the public hearing is completed for the 14.1, so those two processes are married and tied together.
Thank you, Gabe. Questions for Gabe? for the most part, in the area where we've been given mandates, either from the federal government or the state. And then those that are really in this case, it's a clear public health and safety matter. When I was visiting with the person that brought this particular item to my attention, he said something that really helped me further solidify that facilitating is far more the role that we should be in, is that from his perspective, if it doesn't add value to the homeowner or address public safety, it isn't facilitating, it's really pure regulating. And so I'm going to always look at these a little different when I heard that, because when I heard add value, that made a lot of sense to me, because if we decide to add a fee or whatever it is, some kind of ordinance, it's going to be a pass-on, pass-through from the builder to the eventual homeowner. If it doesn't add value and they can add that to the sales price, why are we doing it? Short of, it then must, and only must then be in the interest of safety, real safety, either for the builder or the homeowner long-term. So that really helped me understand from the other side as well what we do. And I appreciate how you modified our position on that particular matter, because I think that went to the spirit of what they were trying to tell us. Appreciate it very much. So if there are no questions for Gabe, since you might be here for this matter, we'll open the public hearing and then close it, take no action until the next public hearing, correct?
Continue, right?
Continue. Oh, Kim, that's your, thank you, Gabe.
Hello, Mayor, Seminary Commissioners. Stormwater design annual update requirements in the City Code of Ordinances. The two documents work very closely together, and they need to continue to do that. So we needed, as you saw in the 57-page ordinance, we had to make a lot of changes, and we had to show the strikeout and underline rather than just do a repeal and replace. So the changes that you've seen in Ordinance 6270 are the changes needed to continue to implement the Stormwater Design Standards Manual. It reflects the changes in terms used in the manual. It also tries to push most of the technical requirements to the manual and only have basically the requirements in the ordinance itself, like you have to do, or you need to do these types of things to do your development project, but how you do that is outlined in the manual. The manual, as well as the ordinance, would not have an effective date until January 1st of 2008. From the changes to 14.1, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on that request at their meeting on June 28th. And it did recommend approval of the ordinance as outlined in Ordinance 6270. We do have one typographical error that was pointed out to me today. On page 37, under 14.10201, we have a line that says the manual detailed criteria, and it should say the manual details criteria. So we'll work with Charlie and get that corrected for your packet on the 22nd. Do you have any questions of me on the ordinance itself?
Questions for Kim?
How many pencils did we go through crossing out all that language?
Well, it's a little bit, well, it's a little bit harder because we can't even use track changes because it keeps showing up in this version of the city code, so we have to do it all with strikeout and underline.
I'm just wondering if Carl's sharpener made it through those edits.
He just reviewed a lot of things.
Any other questions for Kim? So before I open the public hearing, is there anybody here that came for the public hearing on this item?
Move to continue at the next meeting.
A motion?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aspig?
Yes.
Markwart?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Oban?
Yes.
Seminary?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Kim and Gabe and high-tech pencil sharpener Carl. Item 9, consider the request for approval from the Engineering Department for the following items relating to Street Improvement District 17-516, resolution receiving bids and ordering preparation of the engineer's statement for SI 17-516, and resolution awarding contract for SI 17516. Good evening, Linda.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Street Improvement District 516 is a 3-unit district for improvements to Shiloh Drive, an extension of Shiloh Drive, and 2 parking lots adjacent to Shiloh Drive. We received bids last Thursday. We had 2 bidders, Mariner Construction with a bid of $538,032.30, and Northern Improvement with a bid of $406,927.20. The engineer's estimate for this project was $507,388.50. Northern Improvement was the low bidder, and we ask that you award it this contract to Northern Improvement.
Questions for Linda? Wishes of Commissioner Guy?
Thank you. Do we have any idea why there's such an enormous spread between those 2 bids?
We do not. And unfortunately, we did not call and check with them. They were both at the bid opening.
But we're pretty confident that we won't get a bunch of change orders then from the low bid?
Pretty confident.
Okay. Very good.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or discussion?
I just want to add, I think that's a great question, Commissioner Guy, because there's been a couple of items lately that we've seen change orders come through, and it's like, I wonder if we would have went with the original bid that was a little bit higher, if that might have actually ended up saving us money, so appreciate it.
Well, before we call the roll, you just made me thinking something. Why wouldn't we start adding that to when we have a change order come in? Why would it be kind of nice to see a comparison from the bid that didn't make it and it was a low bid, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of change orders? Would there made a difference? I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying it's maybe something to consider. Staff has enough things to do already. It's just something, if there was an easy way to track it in this world of high tech.
Just to be clear, there are legitimate reasons for change orders, and I don't want to sully that, but I do think there are instances where bids get submitted with the intent. I don't think that's this case, just to be clear, but I think it was a good question because there have been instances where it's like, really? So anyway.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aspig?
Yes.
Markwart?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Oban?
Yes.
Seminary?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Commissioners. Item 10, consider the request for approval from the Engineering Department to order the repair of Part B1 of the 2017 City Sidewalk Construction Project hazardous sidewalks. Gabe?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I have a request before you to order in repair of sidewalks that we have previously identified as hazardous to the community. We sent the landowners of these adjacent property owners of the sidewalks in question notifications with a 30-day period for them to reply. If they did not reply within that period, we sent them another notification with a 15-day request for notification, and then we created this agenda item with those at that point that have not turned in said petition. I would want to state I have a couple of addresses on here that I would want to remove from consideration because in the time between the generation of this agenda item and right now, some of those petitions have trickled in. So with your permission, if I could list some of these addresses to be removed. On the first page of this agenda item, 1545 South Washington Street, 1528 Portland Drive. On the second page, 1646 Portland Drive, 1673 Pocatello Drive, 1684 Pocatello Drive, 1657 Wichita Drive, and 1618 East Wachter Avenue. My request is to order in the repair of the sidewalks listed above in accordance with applicable City of Bismarck Code of Ordinances. Do you have any questions?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Don't go anywhere, Gabe. Commissioner Leslie?
Just not a discussion, but a comment for Gabe. A lot of this is in the neighborhood where I live, and so I've gotten to see the marking and the progression and all of that. One of the things I want to commend you on is I know we changed under your leadership, when you came on board, the standard in which we use in terms of whether we require them to rip it all out and repair it, or if there's some things, you know, cracks that can just be sealed and still preserve the integrity of the concrete. Because obviously, this being my neighborhood, seeing instances where I think not too long ago we would have required people to rip out what probably otherwise a perfectly good piece of concrete, but it had one crack in it that simply needs to be filled. So commend you. The follow-up to that is, when we notice those, are we notifying those homeowners that they probably should do that, or there may be a potential for a replacement cost?
Sure. Mayor and Commissioners, Commissioner Askvig, as much as I like compliments, I would have to say that some of that was being done, a lot of that was being done prior to me coming online. Within the letter that we send to everyone regarding this hazardous sidewalk, we write in there that there's an opportunity, if you want to discuss, to call specifically Steve Shoemaker, the individual who's kind of runs this component for our department. And if there's an opportunity there to seal a crack, then yes, that's great. If that crack is 2.5 inches wide and separated by 3 inches, it's probably not one we can seal anymore. So we do try to work with the landowners on different areas or different ways to keep the sidewalk traversable without necessarily ripping it all out and losing that investment that was made previously.
Any other questions for Gabe before we call the roll? Don't go anywhere. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Askvig? Yes. Markwart?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Oban?
Yes.
Seminary?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Gabe. So I've got to bring this to your attention, because when I'm either running there or riding my bike, by the time I get somewhere else, I forget about it. So the sidewalk out in front of Proximal 50 that runs whatever that is, north and south, we have those kind of weird cast iron sheets that break up the sidewalk for stormwater drainage from the parking lots, right? And then they go down. Well, the one right in front of Proximal, and then the one just past what used to be the I, North Dakota, so go past that driveway, you're going towards what used to be the bowling alley, the very first one there on the other side of the entrance into the parking lot. They have shifted so much that it's you know, coming up about 1 inch off level. So it's dangerous. Not so much when I'm running, because that's not fast. When I ride my bike, which is fast, I mean, Commissioner Askvig sees me ride it, it's not fast. That it's a hazard, and we should probably look at that.
Okay. Duly noted.
Not just for me, I mean for everybody that goes there. Thank you, Gabe. Item 11, other business. Is there other business for the good of the order? Well, before we close, I want to thank, again, United Tribes for opening up their arms and doors to us in advance of this incredible powwow tradition that we have and sharing with us information. I want to thank city staff for, this is not easy, moving the meetings to here, and I want to thank Dakota Media Access. It's a lot of work for you guys as well. We really appreciate it. I think this is really important for our community, and I appreciate all the hard work. So I want to give you all a hand. I know that's a tough deal. So that concludes our meeting tonight. Thank you very much.